Didn't they already make an inspirational sports movie about the 1998 Winter Olympics? How many more films are we going to have to watch with poor quality television broadcasts spliced in? When is an HD era sports movie going to be made? Eddie the Eagle, starring Taron Egerton, Hugh Jackman, and directed by Dexter Fletcher. The movie tells the story of an Olympic hopeful who changes sports in hoping to make the Olympic Games. He must enlist the help of a down-on-his-luck alcoholic coach who is seen as a disgrace to the sport he was once good at. Sound familiar? Yeah, because another movie told basically the same story 22 years ago. Taron Egerton plays Eddie Edwards, whose only dream is to make it to the Olympics. He starts out as a young kid, wanting to make it to the Summer Games. He changes to winter sports and becomes a good downhill skier. The real Eddie Edwards almost made the British Olympic team as a skier, just missing out on qualifying. They show he was a good skier in the movie, but they don't show how close he actually came to making the British team. They play it off like it was just on one evil guy from the British committee who was preventing Edwards from making it to the Olympics. The film really tried to play on how unathletic and out of sorts Eddie is in everyday life. This was my biggest complaint of the movie, how the character Eddie Edwards was portrayed in the film. He's cartoonish and completely unbelievable. Egerton plays the dorky, bumbling fool to the best of his ability, but I still saw the charming movie star underneath. Edwards in real life was also a bit of a nerd and clumsy, but he was still an athlete. It takes talent to almost qualify in one sport and then to learn a completely new one in just a few years. He was never top of his class at ski jumping, but I don't think I would ever be able to land a jump off of a 40-meter platform, let alone a 70-meter or 90-meter one, regardless of how much I practiced. The character portrayed on screen is a complete, naive, bumbling mess. They do capture his spirit and determination, but no real person would be as oblivious as he is to the true world around him. This is a real person. I'm not sure why they went so cartoonish with his portrayal. The rest of the characters are also over the top and one-dimensional. The doting mother who wants him to do well and encourages him no matter what it costs. The practical father who wants him to give up on all the Olympic nonsense and just go to work with him. The evil British Olympic Committee person who can't stand Eddie because he is different and not like the other marketable athletes. The other ski jumping elite who bully and make fun of Eddie because he doesn't know what he's doing. The only standout is Hugh Jackman's character, mainly because he is just a naturally charming human being. I think for the most part, he is just playing his natural on-camera persona. Egerton isn't bad in the title role, you can just tell he is acting for most of the movie. The film overall is a stereotypical sports movie. Eddie has to convince his coach that he is worthy of training. We get a training montage of him getting better, and then the competitions where he has to prove himself to the world. The film is moving and touching, and it did invoke an emotional response from me a couple of times. The ski jumping scenes are well done and build good tension and excitement within the film. They did rely on CGI and close-up face shots a couple of times, which did pull me out of the movie in these cases. The competitions are still the best part of the movie though, and I wish they would have focused more on these rather than the comedy and the bad guys who just didn't want Eddie to tarnish the sport and his country. The comedy for me was a complete miss. I chuckled at a few moments, but all of the jokes have been used before. Other people in the theater were laughing, so it could just be me. It seemed they were shooting to make this more of a comedic sports movie. I just think they missed the mark. If Eddie Edwards hadn't been, and still is, a true-life person, then this movie might have worked as an over-the-top sports comedy. They didn't find the right balance of believability and zaniness within the film. I wanted to like Eddie the Eagle. True-life sports stories are some of my favorite types of films. This just didn't live up to the heartwarming, inspirational story it could have. They tried too hard with the comedy and made the characters unbelievable when this was a story that actually happened. I think it might be a case of them straying too far from the source material. I'll put a link in the description below about Eddie Edwards that sheds more light on the actual person. Read up on that instead of going to see the movie Eddie the Eagle, because this movie is not worth seeing. If it's on a paid channel, it's entertaining enough to stop and watch one time, but overall it's a forgettable film. If you need a movie to take your kids to for the weekend, it's worthy enough of a matinee price and has a good enough inspirational message for the kids. That could be part of the issue. This movie just wasn't targeted for my demographic. So, are you going to see Eddie the Eagle? If you have seen it, let me know your thoughts. Am I being too harsh? Tell me your favorite sports movie based on real-life events. I'll go with an unconventional pick, Without Limits, based on the life of Steve Prefontaine. If you haven't seen it and like sports movies, check it out. If you like my review, give it a thumbs up. Share if you think it's worth sharing. Subscribe to my channel if you think I say interesting things. Click the links at the end to hear me babble on some more. Thanks for watching, and